Hello, and thank you for trusting me to read for you. I'm going to be doing a general charm reading. So, we're going to throw the charms and wherever they land, we're going to read about that. So, check out and see if there's any that kind of stand out for you. This luxury area stands out for me as I'm like looking at this. In the past is something that stands out a little bit. So those are two I would kind of look at and see if anything lands in there, but different ones might stand out for you as well. So before we pull out the charms, I want to let you know that this reading is going to be about half an hour long. So you're going to want to take a breath, make sure you're kind of like in a situation where you can really focus and give it some relaxation. So we're going to start. I always like to give the cards a shuffle. We're going to start with charms, but I always like to might remind people when I'm using this deck actually has yes or no answers on it. So you're going to want to, I'm going to be pulling three of these cards. I'm going to pick one row to read about for you because these readings come with a charm reading and a tarot reading. So you're going to want to think of some yes or no questions as well. Okay. So I'm going to shuffle the charts. Okay, here we go. I was trying to still get them. Ooh. Okay, let's see if I can. There's no. Oh, you know what? It's just another one of these little letters. That's why it was so tiny. I'm not going to get you another one. There's a Y way on the horizon. Okay, so the first thing I notice is there's a lot here in the middle. We have a little bit about following your heart. You've been asking a lot of questions about why things are happening lately. We have the why that's coming out. Um, so whenever I see that why, I'm like, okay, so you're kind of questioning your path right now. It's not a matter of like going forward and feeling safe and feeling secure and knowing why things are happening. You actually have a lot of questions now, I feel. Four is about being guided. I feel, and you're also, I feeling, are being led to maybe even plan a trip. Even if you're not able to go right now, sometimes I was reading an article about the psychological effects of planning, and sometimes, even if we're planning something that we don't actually do, it can still be really exciting for our brain. So I feel like that's something that might even be beneficial to you is to allow yourself the luxury of planning something and looking at life about, what if there's something that I am planning something else and along the way I come up with something else that I really enjoy. So I do feel that you are looking for balance in your life. When I look at this, I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see it on there. It's the big wine goblet. So when I think of that, I think of like being ready for a celebration, a party. This says, always remember you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and love more than you know. I feel that there's an idea that you have about making money, but you're not quite sure how to implement it. So I feel that you are having a different or a difficult time following your heart. It's almost like you're kind of wondering if you should focus on this or focus on that. Like there's something that you're not really sure of what you want. So that's where those questions are coming in. And I feel like your guides are basically saying, hey, remember, you're going to be successful at anything that you do, especially when you're able to find that balance in your life. So um, I feel that you are really worried about having someone in your life to share your life with. I feel that let's look at this family section. This says, I love you. Yeah, you're really worried about not having that. I feel that not having a committed relationship is something that it's but it's kind of like in the back of your mind. It's not the first thing that you're thinking about. So, I mean, like, I don't feel that you're really like focused on that. I feel like there was a time maybe in the past where you were. But it's almost like you've let go of some of that. And the reason I'm getting that is because we have the most charms here in this all about you section. So we have the burn book. I feel like you've actually worked on getting some toxicity out of your life. So, when I see the burn book charm, I think of like a group of people who aren't always very nice to everyone and they get together and they write about it in a book. This might even be someone in your life who's one of the water signs. This is somebody who I do feel that they love you and they want to be supportive. I feel that in some ways you're on, like when I see the dice and when I think of one, I think of the magician in the tarot deck where you have all the tools. It's all about you right now. I also feel that you're really on a self-love journey at this time, and that's another piece that's putting you in such a positive place when it comes to the different things that are happening in your life. So I feel that you've been saving up for travel. This is something that you've been wanting, is something that you've been wishing on stars for. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I wish I could go do this. This might even be back to this like planning, following your heart for the travel that you want to do. I do feel that wishing on the stars, the wishing that you're doing is actually working for you. So continue wishing on stars, and money will keep coming to you for you to save for you to go on this trip. Because I do feel that there's something you've almost been daydreaming as you've been planning the trip and what you're going to do. And I feel that that's really looking good for your future. I do feel like you're focused on the future. We don't have anything in this past area or like remembering. You're kind of like moving forward. I feel a lot like we even came in from the reading from this direction. So follow your heart. I feel that these why questions that you're asking are really benefiting you because, like, I feel that along the way you've said things like, why do they treat me like that? And that's when you were like, I don't want them to treat me like that. You know what I mean? That's when you kind of stopped letting them treat you like that. So keep following your heart. I'm gonna switch over to the tarot cards and we're going to do a 3 card tarot with this one. So I'll just say, what do we need to know about family? What do we need to know about luxury? Um, oh, you know what? Actually, I'll do it like this. Because you asked, I feel like the travel was something that you kind of did. Let's do family, travel, and luxury. Yeah, let's do those. Because I mean, escape could kind of be travel. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, just so I don't confuse myself. We're gonna do 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Okay, we will know which way is because I'm reading the right and the reverse. Okay, so when it comes to family, oh, and I also want to let you know before I flip the cards over, each one of these cards has a yes or no answer on it with a little bit of an explanation. So you can ask yes or no questions about the charms, but you can also ask them about, different questions. It doesn't have to be necessarily what the charms have been so far. Okay, so when it comes to family, we're showing the reverse 10 of swords. So I feel like there's some forgiveness going on here. We have the no, because I feel that that answer will bring you pain, whatever your yes or no question was. I do feel that there's going to be some starting over again, which is really interesting because the energy or what you need to know is that the pain will stop. So I feel like whatever you were hoping would happen, the universe has a different plan, and that's going to make that pain stop, and that could potentially change that yes or no to whichever answer you're looking for. So when it comes to family, I feel that there's going to be some forgiveness and starting over again. When it comes to luxury, We have the upright King of Cups. So that's where I feel that vulnerable love is coming in. So we have that yes with some loving thoughts. We have Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Scorpio is really standing out to me here. And this one, Libra, was the one that stood out to me here. So we'll put that over there. So for luxury, I do feel that it is coming in, but I feel like it's something that you're going to share with other people. So I do feel that there's going to be some vulnerability with it, meaning that you're going to need to open up to other people who are wanting to come into your life, who are wanting to be a part of it. You're going to need to share that with them. So I feel that that is something that's really important, and it's something that I feel that you are very, very capable of doing as well. So when you're allowing yourself to be open and vulnerable, I feel like for you, that's actually going to feel like a luxury. And that's what's going to help that with that starting over again. I feel like in the past, this person because I do feel like that's that Scorpio energy has spent some reverse King of Cups energy, which is also about self-abuse as well. So this could also mean that you haven't always been the nicest to yourself, and that's why you haven't had those loving relationships. So being vulnerable with yourself, this may even include going to like therapy or counseling and talking about the things that are difficult or worrisome is the word that's coming up from, like causing you worry when it comes to romance. I believe and feel that a therapist or a counselor will be able to help you with that. So then the third card is about traveling. Don't forget there's a yes. Oh, this yes was think yes, yes or no. It's yes, think loving thoughts. And then this last yes or no is showing as no. It says sadness is stopping you. So here we have the upright Nine of Swords. So I feel that there may even be somebody who you want to go travel to. This is again that I feel that Libra energy. Um, so I feel like you have some grief and sadness about the relationship. I feel like you don't see how it could work, how things are gonna go. I feel like there were times when there were some mean words that were said as well. When we see the sword, it's about words, and sometimes those words can cut us, and that's kind of what I feel like may have even happened when it comes with some energy with family. So those are your three yes or no questions, and then the tarot cards. We're still going to do charms. We're going to talk a little bit more about this vulnerable love. When that card came up, I kind of felt like some energy about, oh, let's kind of delve into that a little bit more. Like, let's ask the charms what we need to know about that vulnerable love. We'll set the cards here, and what it will do for the charms and where they land once we think about that. So while I'm just kind of like think about the vulnerable, what does that look like? If you want to concentrate mainly on vulnerable romantic love, you can concentrate on that as well. We're going to set some intentions. Let's set, I'm going to set the intentions for the charms. We're going to do some vulnerable, self-love, because I feel like the people around you, because we're looking at like grief and forgiveness, I feel like there's not a consistent person who's like there around you with that. So I want to give you some kind of thoughts about it being all about you and what that can look like when a person comes into a relationship with you as well. Like, what could they bring to the table? I feel like this is something that's going to happen pretty quickly. Now, in my charm set, whenever there's a charm that's kind of blocking it, the word time, and then this is the charm for what you're afraid of, the bat. I feel like you're either afraid that you don't have enough time to go out there and look for a relationship with somebody or look for that kind of relationship. And it may be even something where you're a little bit worried about, yeah, just what does the connection bring to you, and do you have time? So that might be something that you want to face and think about. Okay, you're also worried, because normally I'll sprinkle these, but that fell out of my hand. So we're gonna feel like it was supposed to be there. I feel like you're also really always on guard. Like you're always like, "Oh, what have I got to do next?" You know what I mean? You're always kind of like worried. I feel like that's where some of that pain and grief and anxiety is coming in that happened with this possibly Libra. It's really interesting because this card says short and this short card says tall, which we have upright and we have reversed. You may have been trying to get things to work with someone who they just don't always want things to work out. They kind of are ornery. That's the word I'm getting, ornery. So you're always kind of prepared with that person. So let's see what else we got. Okay. Wow, it's kind of interesting how many of the same charms came up, right? So the four came up here, the four came up here. We have an Aries. Nothing else came in the be prepared area. You got a lot coming into each little section. So let's go one by one. We'll start in that same area. I feel like there is someone in your life who is leaving. You kind of feel like maybe the conversation has got stale. Things are leaving with that person. They may even be in Aries. You've been trying to get this person to work with you and have things work with you, but they're not. They are on their way out because they don't make things all about you. You want to hear I love you from this person and they're not telling you that. And so you might even be doing some things that are kind of like, shopping or going on trips, doing things to um allow yourself to not feel bad, but your main goal with it, which wanting to travel, you're not investing towards that. So I feel that you really want a relationship with a commitment, with family, with people who are always going to be around. And that seems to be something that you really want. And you're being guided to that. I do feel that it's coming, but you need to focus and have it be all about you. I feel like the two fours being in these like two little quadrants, you need to have the growth of having it be about you right now, because if it's not, your life's going to be kind of unbearable while you're trying to learn. So I do feel that you've been asking a lot of questions, both from your guides and from yourself, and even people around you, maybe thinking about therapy or something along those lines. You've been asking questions, things have been puzzling you. And as you've been getting the answers to these things, you have been moving forward in your life to your goal, what you want. So this Aries energy, Aries are spontaneous, they're active, they go do things. This is that fire energy. So I feel like with this Aries person coming in with this in the little family part of the reading, I feel that you are going to have an Aries who comes in. Now, this also may have to do with this person's house when it comes to family. Now, that can be different, um, like depending on which part of your chart you're looking at. So, family and romance, things along those lines. Romance can be in the fifth house, and you can find all this online. And the seventh house can also be talking about marriage. So, this person that you meet, their houses may even be Aries. So, you're going to want to see, and then you can also look up what your um, house is when it comes to marriage and finding out what areas of your whole entire chart are coming up rather than just pieces. So then we have the burn book. You have the luxury right now of just moving on. I feel like it's really interesting because an elephant never forgets is what I see when I see this. But I feel like for some of this, it's in the past. You've got to let go. You've got to move on. I think it's interesting because when it's about you, you're moving forward, and when it's not about you, when you're remembering things in the past, you're kind of going this way. You're in the past. So I feel that there are things that you need to let go of. Let's talk about what's in the past that you need to let go of. I feel that there was a relationship and it was not balanced for you. It's really interesting because here we have the yacht with the quarter, and over here we have the little tiny sailboat with the penny. I feel like in the past you were working on or finding yourself in relationships that were unbalanced. They weren't giving you the fair amount when it came to the relationship. And I feel that you knew that. That's why we had some of these, like, you had the luxury of walking away from these people who are toxic for you. But some of them, they followed or they kind of said goodbye. And you have this, it's interesting because there's like this feeling of like, oh, should I be chasing them? But let's look at the go with the flow section. So this is a little bump on the log. You can find a way to allow yourself to be super boring for this person. I feel like you may even be dealing with somebody who is a little bit of a narcissist. When I saw this bone, I was like, oh, you got to throw him a bone. And I don't feel that you have to do that with this person. I feel like this paper is supposed to come off. Look at that later. This person, they wouldn't let you relax. That's why I feel like it almost fell perfectly in between here. I feel like this may even be something that was like not your last romantic relationship, but like your last family relationship. So anytime you have a conversation about things, then you feel like there might be some confrontation. So it's okay for you to just go with the flow. You can be a bump on the log. You don't have to be the person who's inviting them places or trying to include them. We're heading up into the holidays. If there's a holiday that you celebrate and your family gets together, you're really going to want to be able to ask yourself, hey, who do I want in my space? Who do I feel is safe? Who is not going to make me, cost a lot? Whether that's like, as I get older, having family over, having people over, like, it gets more expensive. Like, even just whenever I go to holiday parties, I always bring a big family thing of toilet paper because even that is expensive. So, like, I feel that you are ready to have things start going and being about you. But even like, see how this train is kind of going back in that direction? The elephant is going back in that direction. Some of you, I'm reading for a specific person. Sorry, I read so many so many group ones, but yeah, so you specifically, I feel, have been worried about the holidays because as I'm looking at these, I'm noticing, fork and plate and setting the table and what do we have to provide for people, and that's going to take away from your actual dream. So if there are people who you don't want to spend time with, it's okay for you not to. You can be a bump on the log. You can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And the way that you can do this specifically is don't reach out to anybody else. Don't call anybody first. Don't make plans with anybody. You specifically, if somebody calls you and makes some kind of plan with you, then be like, yes, I want to, if you do. Part of this, it's interesting because I didn't even realize, the follow your heart has the same little emblem on here. Somebody in your life recently was like, adios, bye. And you need to say bye because it was always a thing that you had to like gear yourself up for. You might not even want to do the celebrations that they're wanting to do anymore. You may want different holidays. I feel like there's something that totally is changing. It does feel like it's really interesting because on the Flintstones, this was the dog and that's the bone. So like I do feel like this person can be narcissistic, have narcissistic tendencies. I'm not diagnosing anyone. But some of the things that I can kind of feel you being afraid of, and also like to me, bump on a log is the same energy as gray rocking, which is what they like recommend when you're dealing with a narcissist, is not making it fun. See, you're trying to figure out I think it's really interesting because it's not about being flexible, okay? It's there's almost a charm on everyone except for be flexible and remember. I don't feel that you're supposed to be flexible for this person. You know what I feel that you're supposed to do? And you can see how this resonates for you. I feel that you're supposed to be planning whatever kind of celebration you want to celebrate. And if no one calls you and says, hey, you want to be a part of my plan? Then screw them. When it's all said and done, you say, "Oh, well, you didn't invite me to anything. I did my own thing." And then one of two things is going to happen. That person's going to be like, "Oh," and you can say, "Well, I haven't heard from you," or, whatever thing that you feel is an indication that you're not hearing from that person. But why put on this big show and this big hubbub for this person who everything's in the past? In the past, this person really took your peace, that balance. They weren't somebody who's like, "Oh, let's do a little bit your way and a little bit my way." They didn't do that. And that's what they're going to keep doing. This person, I feel like, is sometimes triggering to you because they hurt you. And so, especially this time of year, it's something where you're remembering this person hurting you. So you can make a choice to say, "Oh, well, in the past, you hurt me and I remembered, and now I can say, oh, yeah, bye. I'm not a dog. I don't need to perform for Bones. It's all about you. Who loves you? You love you." And that's the thing is I feel that, part of the space for where you're going forward is finding your love for yourself. I feel that in the past, especially like when it came around holiday time or things that are happening, you almost get guilted in. It may be that you have like the bigger house or, maybe you have the better job and they almost look like you as the resort or the event planner. And that's just not a place you have to be anymore. You can love you. And I think it's really funny. I didn't even think about the fact that this is like with the shopping bags. Spend that money on what you want, whether it's that travel, or if it's actual things you want to buy. This person told you how they feel. This person showed you how they feel. They didn't just tell you, they showed you. And also, I feel like that might even be the person with the words that are coming up with the swords. And sometimes this person, I feel like they use their presence or their love, not their presence like, "Oh, Merry Christmas," but like their presence, like, "Sure, I'll be there." They use that almost. I feel like because that's what this charm is about. That's why he's waving, but he looks kind of like, ha ha ha, you know. So I feel like you almost also in the past had been guilted into forgiving and starting over, but also let's look at stopping the pain. That can be a piece of this too. If you feel deep sadness and grief and the things that are coming up on these cards, which I do feel that you feel, when you're feeling all that, that's when you need to address that person. I mean, you left. You didn't appreciate how they were making you feel. And so I also feel like what's happening for you specifically is when it came to the holidays and different things along those lines, you don't enjoy yourself. You don't enjoy the things that you want to do. There may be different like religious ceremonies or things about your culture that you want to implement and these people aren't allowing you to. I also feel a little bit of that happening as well. So follow your heart. Don't let these traditions or how things have been in the past be what dictates how things go now. It does not have to happen that way. If you are the person who's kind of like giving space to other people or allowing other people to be a part of your life, you get to set the boundaries and say what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I feel like that's another piece of it. I feel like you are the person who does a lot of the paying for things, and it needs to be a little more fair than it is now, is kind of what I'm feeling. Okay, so let's pull you in our last minute here. I'm gonna pull one more card about this person. Think of a yes or no question. I feel like you have a yes or no question about them. So it can be even a yes or no question about them in the holidays. Ready? It says yes, love is all around. It also is an Aries. It also is friends, marriage, and friendship. And says family. That's interesting. Four of Wands. Oh, we have four. Wow, I'm glad I pulled this last card. Whoever you were thinking about, this person leaving changes a lot of things for you. Hope that you can see that with this card. And now on the board we have 444. So you can even take a screenshot of this and remember that 444 is you are guided. So if there are things that you feel guided to do when it comes to your family, when it comes to setting boundaries, when it comes to the holidays, feel free to do that. The Four of Wands is, or the Wands are also about power and being able to change things. So you can change things. Thank you for trusting me to read for you.